A new lawsuit and request for a temporary restraining order have been filed in the District of the Massachusetts by 23 attorney generals, mostly from the blue states, seeking to recover 8 billion in funding for children's nutritional needs under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program (SNAP). Initially, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced in September that it had been a 6 billion rain day fund to ensure children would not go hungry during the government shutdown, while Donald Trump focused on building his golden ballroom. But just days later, politics took over. The USDA issued another memo saying it had the funds and will was still evaluating how use them. A few days after that, the agency sent a third memo to state official acknowledging it had the money but stating it would not distribute it. Then, incredibly, it tried to shift the blame onto Democrats, accusing them to keeping the government shut down and playing politics with the children's lives. A new lawsuit was filed today in Massachusetts, led by California Attorney General Rob Bonta and supported by other states' Attorney General, with Governor Newsom taking a leading role. I hope to speak with the AG Bonta soon to brief our audience on the details, but here's what we know so far. The lawsuit concerns the SNAP program, which ensures the children living in poverty receive proper nutrition. Yet, children's meals are being held hostage as part of the political standoff, with Democrats being pressured to approve reopening the government. The Democrats' hesitation is not about the abstraction, it's about securing health coverage for an additional 22 million Americans, many of whom are also SNAP recipients. They are pushing to continue tax deduction under the Obamacare to protect these Americans' access to the health care. The lawsuit and the temporary restraining order note that there is acknowledged rainy day fund. Congress explicitly stated that SNAP benefits should continue even during a government shutdown. Yes, the Democrat of Agriculture first reported on September 30 that it had 6 billion in a contingency, a fund ready for distribution. Shortly after that fund seemingly disappeared, and the agency attempted to shift the blame onto Democrats. Here's where we stand now. Rob Bonta, the California Attorney General, who have had the pleasure of interviewing, commented on the situation and the lawsuit. Let's be clear about what's happening. For the first time ever, SNAP benefits will not be available to the millions of low-income individuals who rely on them put food on the table. November, SNAP benefits during Thanksgiving month must still be provided even aimed a government shutdown. The USDA not only has the authority to use contingency fund but also has a legal duty to do so. Instead, the Trump administration has chosen to play politics with the essential safety net which millions depends on, including 5.5 million people in California alone. With the holidays approaching, grocery costs continue to rise and the food banks are facing unprecedented demand. We are talking a stand because families will face hunger and malnutrition if the Trump administration succeeded in blocking these benefits. While Donald Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom continued their international appearance, Trump trying to repair the economic damage caused by his own incompetence. Millions of Americans are being denied food and will go hungry next month. It's cruel and highlights a fundamental lack of humanity. He appears to care only about himself, not on people of his country. You cannot deny the politics here. On September 30, the USDA announced that it had the funds and a plan to ensure underprivileged children will not go hungry. By October 24, that program was suddenly suspended. What changed? What changed? Where did the 60 billion contingency fund go? The USDA claimed it might be needed for a hurricane and other emergency. But But we already have children in America going hungry, including children in Republic household. Meanwhile, some of that contingency plan money has been diverted to pay the military, the National Guard, and even Trump's golden ballroom. This is how the USDA has become political. Here's the statement they released. We are approaching a critical inflection point of Senate Democrats. Look at how politics is being played with the people's lives. Will they continue to hold out for the far left wing of the party? And will they reopen the government so mothers, babies, and the most vulnerable among us can receive timely SNAP benefit? It's shocking. Democrats are fighting to provide health insurance to 22 million Americans and to prevent children from going hungry. You can see clearly where the Republican stands. Here's statement about the SNAP lawsuit that you will find relevant. Let's play the clip.
I'm going to kick it off here today to announce California's latest lawsuit against the federal government and specifically the U.S. Department of Agriculture, also known as USDA, and Secretary Brooke Rollins. Using the current federal shutdown as a scapegoat, USDA has unlawfully suspended funds for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, for the first time in the program's history, informing state agencies that the federal government will withhold all November benefit payments. Trump and Rollins are cutting off benefits for more than 41 million Americans, 41 million Americans, red states and blue states, folks who rely on SNAP to put food on the table, even though there are billions of dollars in contingency funds and other funds that could be used to provide SNAP benefits during the shutdown. They are doing this on purpose. It is deliberate. It is intentional. They have the funds. They're just not using them. The vast majority of SNAP recipients are families with kids, elderly individuals, and people with disabilities. These are our most vulnerable. Society should be judged on how we treat the most vulnerable. Trump gets an F for what he is doing here to our kids and to our most vulnerable Americans. Here in California, our SNAP program, CalFresh, supports 5.5 million Californians every month, including 1.9 million children. All of them are counting on this program. They're counting on their government to follow through on its promise and to provide the support that they need. In abruptly suspending SNAP, Trump and Rollins have broken the law. They have forced states to scramble to try and clean up the federal government's mess. And worst of all, they've left 41 million Americans unsure of where their next meal will come from. With today's lawsuit, our coalition of 23 attorneys general and 3 governors who are standing up for the people in their state have made it clear that we refuse to stand by and allow the Trump administration to arbitrarily and unlawfully do away with a decades-old safety net program, the country's most important tool for fighting against hunger.
And what's next? They are asking a judge in Massachusetts to issue a temporary restraining order. With the temporary restraining order in place, the USDA would be compelled to release the contingency fund. The Supreme Court has historically been inconsistent with when it comes to federal judges ordering payments, sometimes allowing funds for overseas program, other time blocking it, leaving lower courts to struggle with what counts as the status quo. Now these attacks are immediate and dire. We are talking about irreparable harms, literally children going hungry. A federal judge will have to intervene, and the Supreme Court may soon to be forced to decide where it stands. Will it side with the children or risk of starvation or with a broad interpretation of the presidential power that protects Donald Trump authority under the Article 2? We will find out soon enough as the SNAP payments hang in the balance while Trump continued to boost up his golden ballroom. Millions of vulnerable American children face real, immediate hunger.